Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here. Yes, my name is Marc Vladimir Boor. Many of you may know me as Mr. Boor. I am the conversational and foundational English teacher here at Yinghe Bilingual School. I'm here to talk to you guys about the imperative need, the absolute need to treat all animals with humanity, with compassion, with empathy, and sympathy. For animals are thinking creatures and feeling creatures, just like you and me. They react to the world around them, just like you and me. They strive to have peaceful, fulfilling, and happy lives, just like you and me. I'd like to read a quote from you from Carl Safina, who wrote the book called Beyond Words, What Animals Think and Feel. He's an award-winning environmental writer. He wrote, quote, "Life is very vivid to animals. In many cases, they know who they are. They know who their friends are, and they know who their enemies are. They have ambitions for higher status. They compete. Their lives follow the arc of a career, just like us. We both try to stay alive, get food, find shelter, and raise young for the next generation." He goes on to say that it's incredible to him to think that there is a debate over whether animals are conscious. Can animals think? He says yes. If you watch mammals and even birds, you see that they respond to the world. They play. They act frightened when there's danger. They relax when things are good. It seems illogical, incorrect, for us to think that animals might not be having a conscious mental experience of play, sleep, fear, and love. I'd like to tell you about a couple organizations that work for the rights of animals. This one is called the ASPCA, the American Society for the Protection of Cruelty to Animals. While working in Russia as an American diplomat, Henry Berg stopped a carriage driver from whipping his fallen horse. You can see the picture here. He witnessed this horse being beaten, and instead of just watching or walking by, he stopped this carriage driver from beating his horse. It was then and there that he decided that he could affect a larger world outside of his smaller world. So he returned to America, New York in fact, and he created the ASPCA. Now the ASPCA works to protect the rights of animals. It encourages people to think of animals not as merely just creatures, but as living, thinking beings. Now, very importantly, the ASPCA works with the American government to create laws to protect animals. In America, if you hurt an animal and you're found guilty of hurting an animal, you may pay a fine. You may go to jail. There are consequences for hurting animals, and this is very important for America and for animals, of course. Now, of course, organizations like this don't just exist in America. They exist here in China as well. I have had the fortune of working with several organizations here in China. While living in Chongqing, in Shandong, and here in Wuxi, I have worked with several organizations that help protect animals. They will shelter animals that are lost, that are abandoned, that are abused. Now, this one here is called Haven for Paws. Haven for Paws is a very small shelter. Recently, I and several other volunteers, we worked together to move the shelter from one location to the other. They had outgrown their current shelter. Right now, Haven for Paws has over 200 cats and dogs. Now, as you can imagine, there's a lot of work that goes into taking care of these animals. So I, as well as other volunteers, both foreign volunteers as well as Chinese volunteers, we get together and we go to the shelter and we will clean up after the dogs, we'll clean up their kennels, we'll clean up their play areas, we'll clean up their food bowls, we'll feed them, we will pet them, make them feel as happy as can be while they live their lives in the shelter. And for me, that is very rewarding. It's a very rewarding feeling to volunteer, to spend my time to help these animals. But the real heroes are these people here who created Haven for Paws. She is a Japanese expat. When she lived here in Wuxi, she saw that there was a need to take care of these lost and abandoned animals. She no longer lives here in China, but she still runs the organization from Japan. Right? But it keeps on going. Now, excuse me. Haven for Paws hosts schools, just like Yinghe. They invite students to come in and volunteer to see what it is like to help these animals. I strongly suggest, I've worked with some of my grade 8 figures recently talking about this. I strongly suggest that each and every one of you volunteer at one of these shelters. It doesn't have to be Haven for Paws, but know what it is like to help these animals, to see what they go through on a daily basis. When dealing with humanitarian practices throughout the world, there are countries that do very well, but there are countries that don't do so well. We have accomplishments, but we also have things that we need to improve upon. It is my sincere hope that we as the human race can work together to create a more humane, compassionate, empathetic, and sympathetic world for these animals. So I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. It won't be too difficult. Okay, don't worry about it. I know you guys have lots of tests coming up. You don't need more homework. But I want you to go home. Talk to your mom and dad. Talk to your grandma, your grandpa. Talk to your best friends. Talk to people you don't even know. Tell them about what you have learned today. For it is only through education that we can improve the lives of these animals. Let's work together to create a more perfect world for all. Thank you very much.